county's finances were such a mess, they couldn't determine to the dollar actually what was the deficit. With regards to what we've done in my office to show that we can save taxpayers money, I'll point to my audit department. Not only the 30 audits and reviews we've done, but one audit in particular, an audit of the holding center, which of course is certainly a big topic right now, in which we identified millions of dollars of ways that taxpayers could have money saved if they just changed the way shifts were done and they reduced overtime. That audit received an award from the International Association of Local Government Auditors. The first time any municipal auditor in New York State had ever been granted an award. It's called a Knight Award. Basically, it was determined to be one of the top 3 audits that year. That shows the good work that we're doing in our office. It doesn't matter who we're looking at. We've criticized Democrats just as we've done Republicans, and I will continue to do that through my audit division and other work. But I will work alongside everybody as well. Okay.
Now you get to answer the question, one example of your success as a fiscal watchdog.
Well, I think we just did that with regards to the holding center audit. Looking back at what we've done over the last 4 years, I'm proud of the work that we've done in the office. Just give you an example of some of the things that we have to deal with. When Alfreda Slominski was controller, and she's generally considered the gold standard, there were over 100 employees in the office. Just before the fiscal crisis under Controller Naples, there were approximately 70 people in the office. We have more responsibility than any controller before, and right now I have 42 individuals working in the controller's office as the chief accountant, chief auditing, chief reporting, chief financial, and the head of revenue recovery for Erie County. We are doing more with less. We've created an efficient office. I'd say in some ways that the controller's office is what the rest of Erie County government should be patterned off for, because we have less employees and we're doing more work and we're doing great work product that is actually being identified by nonpartisan organizations.
Comment if you wish. Okay. On the audit function for the controller's office, I think it's just a couple of facts that ought to be put in front of people. This is my opponent's, I guess they call them Poloncarz, and it mentions in the back that the controller's office under his stewardship has performed over 30 audits, reviews, and reports. Not necessarily audits, 30 audits, reviews, and reports, a grand total one. And I just want to put that into context in terms of production and what it might mean. Last time I looked, there were 8 people on the audit staff at the county. Actually, it was 9 last year, but I think this year. And it's 3.5 years, and using that razor-sharp accountancy type mind, it comes out to roughly one report, audit, or review per man year. This is not an overwhelming record. Anybody that's been in the public accounting business would say that's very, very low productivity. There's more here than meets the eye in terms of production. And number 2, I want to point this out too. Chief deputy in charge of audit. You would think this person would be an independent person, a person that is as we say, independent and has high integrity. Well, the integrity I don't question, but listen to this if you would. This is from the New Democrat, published by the New Democrat last year, and it states Mr. Zakawa, very quickly, has over a decade of experience working on local, state, and federal campaigns, committeeman in the city of Buffalo, worked on elections for Brian Higgins, Mark Poloncarz, Byron Brown, past elected officials, Mark Poloncarz, Anthony Maciello, and has been noted for doing things such as debate preparation, fact-checking, and policy strategy planning. All of this done when he was working with the Office of City Controller and then with the Office of County Controller. If that's independence with respect to partisan politics, I've never heard of such a thing. One thing we will do, we will employ in those important support positions professional people with no political axe to grind. Thanks.
But you can come back to it, of course. Mark, a question for you. New York counties face enormous pension and healthcare funding challenges. What can you do to alert taxpayers to this pending crisis, and what can you do to minimize its effects?
It's interesting that you bring that up, because today we received a report from the State Controller's Office on our pension costs for 2011. They usually give it to us a year in advance. Our costs for 2010 are going to be approximately $20 million. The proposed costs for 2011 are going to be $33 million. It's increased that much. Our long-term health care costs are unsustainable in its current format. We had to do a review a couple of years ago under GASB 45 to determine what our long-term health care related costs are for retirees. And we determined a little less than $750 million, and the cost that we're paying today triples in the next 10 years. I constantly issue these reports and information to the public, the county executive, the county legislature, as well as the County Control Board, which actually one of our members is here, Ken Cooley from the Erie County Fiscal Stability Authority. My office, in some ways, I think we issue so much reports, I'm sometimes wondering if the legislators and other people are even reading it. Because we'll issue a report, we'll send it over to the legislature, and then we'll get a call from a legislator later saying, well, what about this issue? And I'll say, we already talked about it, we sent a letter over about a month ago. My office is constantly keeping apprised of everybody in county government, as well as the public, on what's going on. I've issued more financial reports, more statements, more reviews, more audits than anyone else prior, and it's all available for review on the internet at the erie.gov website. And finally, to address the issue and the critique of my deputy controller for audit, to my knowledge, it's the first time that a certified internal auditor has been deputy controller for audit. It was a huge loss to the city of Buffalo when we were able to bring him over. No politics is done in the office. We work hard on the people's business. And truthfully, the prior auditor, deputy controller for audit under Nancy Naples, was the secretary treasurer for the Buffalo Republican Party.
Okay, on the question asked, indeed, I can't speak as Mark has because I haven't been there, but one of the chief functions that I would like to use the Controller's Office for is to frame just the kind of issues we're talking about here. These costs, which are embedded in the way New York State operates, are, as we talked about in the opening statement, creating an insupportable burden upstate. You mentioned pension costs and the way they have doubled and tripled. I remember talking to counties back in the 1990s. This was back when the stock market was going great, and by golly, it looked like I think for a couple of years we had zero pension costs, and every local county was pretty pleased with it. And I sat down with those people then, and this is being forward-looking and framing the debate, the audited counties, and we said, look, this is a chimera, it's not going to last. Because at the same time we had those lovely years, the state loosened the rules on pensions, thereby creating the current burden that we have today. And of course, when the market turned, we had, once again, sped up to the limit, and thereby leaving future generations to pick up baggage. And now we are at that juncture. Will I use the Controller's Office to inform in that regard? Yes. Will I use it more effectively? I believe so. I will make those numbers come alive. I will beat people on the head with them until they turn purple. People have to, I'm exaggerating for effect, and I mean every word of it. People have to understand what they're looking at with these burdens, and it has to be done effectively, and it has to be done over and over again. I will use the office to make that connection, and they will know.
Thank you. Next question from Mr. Kadet. Why do you think being a political ally of the county executive will help county taxpayers?
Well, I'm going to take umbrage to the word political ally. I don't think that's the appropriate description. I'm going to put it this way. Why do I think having a reasonable working relationship with the county executive will work to the benefit of county taxpayers? I want to frame this the best way I can. I never met Chris Collins before April this year. Didn't give any money for his campaign, didn't help with the campaign, didn't know the man. Since then we've met several times. I have respect for the way what's being done. But what I'm really looking forward to, quite frankly, is a quality working relationship with all branches of Erie County government. To my way of looking at it, throwing political footballs and little bombs out is not the way you get things done. It may make the newspapers, it may make cute little stories, and everybody loves it, he said, she said type things. But when it comes down to substance, that doesn't get things done. What gets things done is proper reports, timely done, working side by side with all officials in the government, not in a confrontational, but in a productive manner. I believe having a reasonable, productive relationship with the county executive is important in that respect. It's important also to have the same reasonable, productive relationship with the county legislature. It's important to have the same reasonable, productive relationship with the various departments of the county, and most importantly, with the media and the taxpayers at large. That's what I have done for a living. That's what I have done my entire life. I believe we can keep the partisan politics out of it. I believe it's important for the chief financial officer and the chief executive officer of any entity, including Erie County, to be able to work together productively. If it comes to push to shove and we can't, and there comes to crises, of course, things have to go public, and occasionally we have to make statements that conflict. That's life. But I think it's a plus, not a minus, to be working arm in arm with all members of county government.
I think it's fair to say that the relationship between the county executive and I on a daily basis between our offices, we work together. We don't have to agree on everything, and that's truthfully what the office is about, independence. I will never be anybody's yes man. I will be an advocate for the taxpayer. 75 to 80% of the things that happen in county government happen without anybody hearing about it because of general